Centuries ago, long before order even existed, there was chaos. A ravenous, evil nation had menaced the earth. Soldiers arrived, raiding and pillaging cities to their heart's content. For years, this relentless cycle of robbery and domination continued, diminishing the once burning hope the people had for the future into a small spark. All hope seemed lost, until the people's dying light was rekindled in the form of three righteous heroes. The first was Hayden, a prideful and noble man, with his strict demeanor pushing his comrades to new heights. The second was Ben, a man who seemed to emulate the hope and the charm of the world where he stood. The third was Quincy, a man who'd seen it all, a man who sought to instill order in a land where it was simply ugly. Together, the three heroes formed a new nation, called the Sun. After long and painful trials, where the trio was brought to their limits, they managed to defeat this ravenous nation, though it cost them their very lives. Now, centuries later, the Sino finally brought peace and security to the world, with nearly all of the Earth's conquered territory. None shall know of their ancestors' struggles for peace, and none shall question the world is in synergy.
A young man leans forward on a balcony ledge, observing the streets below with their brown eyes. His black hair flows in the windy breeze as they gaze down at armored men patrolling throughout the streets. As soon as their mind became lost in wonder at the sight of the soldiers, they heard a voice.
Michael?
And the young man rushed inside a familiar place, inside his home. He entered a warmly lit kitchen. A dark-haired woman sat in front of the kitchen table, reading some sort of paper as she looked at a machine in front of her. It was a red and silver-colored drone, with its inner workings exposed.
I've been looking through him for almost an hour. He's always repeating those numbers over and over.
The woman explained. The young man, Michael, approaches this weird piece of machinery, tinkering with it as if it were second nature.
I was thinking of rebooting him,
she added. Michael looks up from the drone to look at his mother. He was almost offended by the fact she'd asked the question. He shakes his head in denial.
No, Ma. Proxy's special. Whapping his drone like that would just make him an ordinary factory drone. Besides, he's been in the family for, longer than I can count.
Immediately after he uttered the word, little drone beeped loudly, like an alarm.
Alert, alert. Sino Defense Force parade scheduled for 6 p.m.
The drone reported. Michael's eyes widened as he looked at his watch.
It's 5:46.
Mike's mom gave him a nod as he rushed out of his home, like a track racer hearing gunfire. As Mike rushed throughout the concrete jungle, the music intensified. He rushed through a large crowd, accidentally stepping on shoes and bumping into people. The red and silver-colored drone named Proxy followed behind him. His eyes widened as he slowed down, surprised that Proxy was even here. The drone just simply floated next to him very casually.
Proxy? What are you doing here?
Your mother was on the verge of rebooting me. My database is too precious for that.
I thought you were malfunctioned.
Before Michael could finish his sentence, Proxy quickly pushed both of them out of the way of an oncoming bus. Michael stumbled, almost tripping over himself as he looked back at Proxy.
The march is in 5 minutes. I believe that they want you there alive.
Well, that's the plan.
After a while, Michael and Proxy finally arrived to a long street, crowded by people. The music almost warmed Mike's heart with excitement, and his eyes almost lit up. two blend into a crowd, watching as soldiers marched down the street with highly polished and pristine armor. The soldiers didn't look to the crowd, only towards the goldish-orange haze of the sunset. Proxy was floating above Michael, looking down at him with his single red eye and observing his look. It was the same as the one he'd had when he was looking at the soldiers from the balcony. He's smiling at the fire, just like her, Proxy thought to himself. Unfortunately, Michael's silent cheering was interrupted by two relentless bickering behind the two.
Opal, come on. We've been going to these army parades 5 times this month. Your obsession is starting to worry me.
Oh, come on, Ron. You know I'm not going to stop going until I see one of those goldies.
Opal said, bumping into Michael as they began walking through the crowd in order to get to the front row. Michael turns over to Opal, a bit annoyed.
You're getting a little too enthusiastic,
Aaron said. He looked at Michael, his yellow eyes matching the golden sunset.
I'm sorry about this, Donnie. She's been going to these parades and marches for the last month to find one of those goldies. I'm Aaron, and she's Opal.
I'm Michael, or Mike, whatever you want to call me. I've never really seen one of those honor guards. I heard they're rare. Heck, I don't even know if they exist.
Suddenly, he was interrupted by the sound of trumpets echoing throughout the streets. Multiple men dressed in golden and red armor marched proudly. Michael and Opal squealed in excitement as they watched the soldiers.
The honor guards.
Michael and Opal spoke in unison as they watched them, leading to Aaron simply letting out an irritated grunt. As they observed, one of the guards looked towards Michael. The black visor of their helmet was like an endless void, with no evidence of humanity underneath. As he looked into the guard's helmet, a single tear rolled down his cheek. The sound of heavy footsteps and loud panting almost echoed throughout his mind, before being silenced by some sort of outcry. He snapped back into reality, shaking his head and wiping a tear from his cheek. Opal became a bit concerned due to Michael's daze, and she waved her hand in his face.
Are you okay?
She asked, weirded out by Michael's awkward interaction with the guard.
Yeah, I'm fine.
He gripped at his head.
I guess just seeing an honor guard in person was too much to handle.
He tried to break the awkward tension with a little bit of a joke.
Yeah, but that just looked like a stroke.
Aaron said blatantly.
The goldies never looked at anyone in the eye like that. Maybe you're special?
Opal wondered.
What? You think he's some sort of chosen one? He's gonna discover the secrets behind a dystopian world and go on a 3-season-long adventure that tests his trust and faith in his friends and family?
Aaron asked sarcastically, leading the other two to give him a confused look.
Wow, that was very specific.
Michael said, shaking his head as he laughed with the two. After a few hours, rain was falling hard. The droplets of water created puddles. Michael's hair became curly as the rain poured down. He shivered in the cold and he could only cover his head with his arms over his head. His shoes were soaked and he could hear thunder roaring in the distance. Fortunately, Proxy was able to cover him up more effectively as he floated above the boy. He smiled up at the thoughtful drone, thanking him. Proxy gave him somewhat of a nod as they continued walking home.
You can feel something, can't you?
Proxy asked, breaking the silence.
Feel what?
You can feel it, can't you? The presence, that thing in your head, the echoes.
Proxy looked at Michael, but he just looked back at him with a blank expression. He didn't know what in the world he was talking about.
Why would I even try? You wouldn't understand what's really going on, let alone what I'm saying.
I mean, You're my best friend, Proxy.
The two now sitting on the porch of Michael's house. Proxy was silent for a moment, looking around until his head suddenly lit up with an idea.
You wouldn't tell a soul, would you?
Drone asked. Michael placed a hand on top of Proxy, looking into his eye. Not a soul.